Pokey here, and I'm going to be counting down the top 10 unlockables in video games. Games have had tons of unlockable content for years, from unlockable abilities, modes, and minigames, to unlockable characters, weapons, and attacks. Which are the best of the best, though? Well, it's taken me a while, but I've finally come up with my top 10. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as I take you on a journey through the decades, and show you some fun and badass unlockables.
Number 10.
This is the only indie game on the list, but man does it deserve its place here. Retro City Rampage is a modern game that both looks like and references tons of classic games. It's not just games either, this game references everything that was great about the 80s, 90s, and just pop culture in general. With gameplay very similar to the original Grand Theft Auto game, they came up with an unlockable that fits this style of game perfectly. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Zapper. That's right, once you've beaten the game, you can go back to Doc Chalk's lab and get yourself a weapon that is essentially the NES Zapper. But you won't be shooting ducks with this bad boy. The Zapper in Retro City Rampage is a one-hit kill against anything it hits, taking out army troopers, vehicles, and tanks, all with a single pull of that trigger. They even nailed the sound the Zapper makes. This was an incredibly fun game, and I was so happy when I beat it and unlocked this overpowered weapon.
Number 9.
Final Fantasy XV was a big game. The world was fairly large, and Final Fantasy had finally gotten back to its open world roots. With so many minigames and side quests at your disposal, it was sometimes a drag to get around from place to place. I mean, sure, camping and fishing with the boys was super enjoyable, until you found out that there was going to be like a 5-minute loading screen or a 7-minute drive to get to where you wanted to go. Well, once you've beaten the main story, you unlock something that made traveling long distances much more incredible. The Flying Regalia is an impressive feat in my opinion. Ever since Final Fantasy left the PlayStation 1, it has pretty much tossed flying around in the airships into the trash. But that was one of my favorite things about the Final Fantasy games. Final Fantasy XV, however, lets you soar above the world map and land on any strip of road you'd like. Well, as long as you're a good enough pilot to actually land there, that is. There's even a post-game dungeon that you can only access via the Flying Regalia. For bringing actual airship travel back to the Final Fantasy series, and being fun to pilot even when you eat shit on the landing and murder your entire party, the Flying Regalia deserves its spot at number 9.
Number 8.
Dragon Quest IV is one of my favorite games of all time. I grew up playing it on the NES and fell in love with its world, its characters, and its villain. Sorrow was a dude who fell in love with an elf, but the humans basically treated elves like shit. You see, in Dragon Quest IV, elves cry ruby tears, and the humans figured they could get rich off their tears. Luckily for an elven girl named Rose, Sorrow was around to protect her. Locking her in a tower so that the humans could no longer bother her, Sorrow swore to be able to get the kind of power to protect his love forever. Unfortunately for the heroes, this meant unleashing the secrets of evolution and becoming the master of monsters. Anyways, Sorrow transformed into the badass Necro-Sorrow, or Sorrow the Manslayer, and the heroes struck him down and saved the world. But wait! In the DS remake of the game, after beating the main game, you unlock the ability to have Sorrow join your party. That's right. This badass was finally able to fight at your side. Some other dickhead became the new master of monsters, and the heroes and their new comrade Sorrow set out to take him down. Having the ability to play as Sorrow years after playing this game as a kid was just a huge nostalgia boner for me. It was great to have this powerful villain, who you had a lot of respect for, finally join your side. For these reasons and more, Sorrow deserves his spot at number 8.
Number 7.
Ratchet Clank is a series I never would have gotten into if it wasn't for my friend Bubs. The dude was always playing these games along with the Sly Cooper ones. Once I got into the series filled with all sorts of bizarre and unique weapons, I kept coming across this incredibly powerful weapon known only as the Rhino.
Kinda hot in these rhinos.
Pretty much each game in the Ratchet and Clank series features a version of the Rhino, and goddamn, it's powerful. This thing is always hard as hell to get, but getting it is always completely worth it. And those are the kind of OP unlockables I like best. For being as powerful as it is ridiculous, the Rhino locks in its spot at number 7.
Number 6.
Originally appearing as an optional boss in Final Fantasy V, Go-Go in Final Fantasy VI is a force to be reckoned with. But Go-Go's not the only extremely OP unlockable in Final Fantasy VI, so I had to pair him up with the ability to dual cast. Called X-Magic in some versions of the game, the dual cast lets you cast spells twice in a single turn. Now I know, it already sounds badass, but what if I told you you can dual cast Ultima? OP as fuck, right? But it gets even better. What if I told you you can dual cast Ultima and then mimic it with Go-Go to follow up with another dual cast of Ultima? Holy shit! These are some great unlockables. This list really couldn't exist without them.
Number 5.
I am a massive Metal Gear series fan, and Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. With so many unlockables and collectibles in this game, it probably has the most replay value out of all the games on this list. My favorite unlockables out of the bunch, though, would have to be the Patriot Gun and the Stealth Camouflage. The Patriot Gun is a powerful-ass gun originally used by the boss in the game, but once you've beaten the game, you can get yourself the gun and use it in your next playthroughs. The Patriot isn't just an extremely powerful machine gun, it also happens to have infinite ammo. And its accuracy isn't half bad either. If you're wanting to do a chaotic run where you just murder everyone in the game, you can just keep this bad boy equipped the whole time and mow dudes down quite easily. But if you want to mow dudes down without them ever even knowing it, you've gotta unlock the Stealth Camo. Once you equip the Stealth Camo, you are literally invisible in the game. Equip both the Patriot and the Stealth Camo to basically become a murderous ghost of the battlefield. Though hard to get, these unlockables make for incredibly great replay value, which is how they snuck their way to number 5 on the list.
Number 4.
Mega Man X on the Super NES is a goddamn masterpiece. One of my favorites in the X series, this game had really great gameplay mechanics with tons of unlockables and upgrades thanks to our old pal Dr. Light. But the one thing that sets this game apart from most of the others in the X series is the motherfucking Hadoken. Getting this upgrade is tough as heck. You need to have every Dr. Light upgrade, as well as every Heart Tank, Sub-Tank, and every Maverick's weapon. Only then do you head to Armored Armadillo stage and take this suicidal leap of faith off this very ledge 5 times before the upgrade capsule will appear. So make sure you farm for lives. Once you obtain it, if you have full health, you can one-hit kill any enemy in the game, except for the final boss's final form. I've actually never beaten this game without it, because screw fighting Lightsaber Sigma and his tough-ass dog. I just blow them away with the Hadoken and get ready for Sigma's final form. Much like some of the earlier unlockables on this list, I love how the Hadoken doesn't make the game unbalanced because of how much time and effort you actually have to put into getting it. For all of these reasons, the Hadoken from Mega Man X stands strong at number 4.
Number 3.
Mega Man X had the Hadoken, X2 had the not-so-practical Shoryuken, but Mega Man X3 had 2 incredible and original Unlockables. In Mega Man X3, you finally get the ability to play as Zero for little bits of the game. And as we all know, this dude is a Z-Saber-wielding badass. In X3, X can finally reach badassery levels on par with his best bud Zero, by not only obtaining his incredibly powerful Z-Saber, but also the multi-part upgrading powers of the Gold Armor. Much like Mega Man X and X2, you get upgrade capsules that'll give X the ability to find secrets, air dash, take less damage, and do more damage with his Mega Buster. Well, the Gold Armor takes all those upgrades and basically doubles them. But that's not enough for you, is it? No, like me, you like to be able to absolutely spank anyone you face in the endgame. So, if you enter the correct door with Zero in one of the final stages, you'll trigger a boss battle that, once completed, will kill Zero and rewards you with his Z-Saber. The Z-Saber is so powerful. Much like the Hadoken, it will one-hit kill anything it hits, but also, you can use it to take down Sigma with about 3 hits, making him a walk in the park. The Gold Armor and Z-Saber, when used together, make X so powerful, they deserve their spot at 3rd on the list.
Number 2.
I've always had a weird relationship with the Zelda franchise. There's some damn good Zelda games, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a huge Zelda fan. Ocarina of Time is still regarded by some as one of the greatest games of all time. I was always more of a classic top-down style Zelda guy, like A Link to the Past and Oracle of Seasons. But I do love me some Majora's Mask, and this list could not be complete without the immeasurably OP Fierce Deity Mask. This mask is very difficult to obtain. You need to get every single mask in the game, and then, before encountering the final boss, you give them to all these weird fuckers inside the moon and do little obstacle course things for them. Once you've handed over all your masks, you can get the Fierce Deity Mask containing the powers of a god. Much like the Hadoken, this is the only way I've actually ever beaten Majora's Mask. I've heard the final boss can be pretty tough without it, but with it, you can beat all of his forms in like 3 to 5 attacks, and the aerial slashes its sword shoots out are so powerful they can't even be blocked. As a kid, when I first unlocked this mask, I got so hyped. I thought, oh my god, this is the classic Link from the original Legend of Zelda! It's got the laser sword shots and everything! But in reality, the Fierce Deity Mask is so much more. You can also apparently get it in the latest Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, if you can get your hands on the Fierce Deity Link amiibo. Anyways, this mask is the most rewarding and overpowered unlockable on this list so far, which is why it found its way all the way up here at number 2.
Number 1.
Number 1 on this list comes from a game that I'd never completed until last year when I was streaming it. Final Fantasy VII to some is a nostalgic masterpiece, but to me, it's just a mid-tier game in the series. I have zero nostalgia for this game as I pretty much skipped from Final Fantasy 1 and 4 all the way to Final Fantasy 8 when I was growing up. It was hard for me to go back and play this one because of all the weird differences from the rest of the franchise, but in the end, I'm glad I did it. Final Fantasy VII is home to a few of the douchiest optional bosses in any game ever. Emerald Weapon and Ruby Weapon, with Ruby being the worst. But if you can beat his big green piece of shit brother, you gain access to the absolute greatest unlockable in video game history, the Master Summon Materia. Beating Emerald Weapon gives you access to the Earth Harp, which you can then give to a dude in Calm. After doing this, you can get yourself the Master Summon Materia. Master Summon Materia gives you access to every single summon in the game, including the infinitely powerful Knights of the Round summon. Knights of the Round basically summons all of the Knights of the Round Table, each of them doing their own attack. If you grind it out, that is fucking 12 times 9999 damage. This attack makes short work of anything in this game, including our old pal Sephiroth. Knights of the Round and the Master Summon Materia to me are the most powerful unlockables in video game history, so they sit here on their throne commanding the others from their number 1 position. Thanks for watching another one of my top 10 videos here on YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to punch those like and subscribe buttons. You can also follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/dookie03. We're not done yet though, it's time for a few honorable mentions. Of course, since there are probably billions of video game unlockables, I had to have a few honorable mentions here. So for starters, I'd like to mention the Worm Hero Blade in Final Fantasy XII. As a gigantic Dragon Quest fan, of course I had to get this weapon. The Worm Hero Blade is actually the Sword of Light, or Erdrick's sword from the Dragon Quest series, and it's the most powerful sword in all of Final Fantasy XII. Not only that, but any character can equip it, regardless of job class if you're playing the Zodiac Age version. I also couldn't leave out the ability to play through Castlevania Symphony of the Night as Richter Belmont. Once you've beaten the main game, both the regular and inverted castle, you can then unlock what essentially becomes a whole new game. All you've got to do is start a new game and name your character Richter with all caps, and away you go. This makes the game play a lot more like the classic games in the series. Richter's also got some badass sliding attacks that really speed his playthrough up. And last but definitely not least, I've got to mention Hideo Kojima in the Metal Gear games. I'm a massive fan of the Metal Gear series as well as Hideo Kojima's other works. So when I heard that you could actually get Kojima himself to join your team in Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, you can bet your ass I made sure to get him. There's a sweet little cutscene, and he boosts the shit out of your team's intel once he joins it. It was super cool to have Kojima himself on your base, and this wasn't just limited to Peace Walker. You could also rescue him in both Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. These instances were such a treat in such a long-running and successful series. Thanks for watching everyone, and I hope to see you next time.